Hello, welcome to another book review. I'm your host, Kristen, and today I will be reviewing the young adult dystopian book, A Girl Called Ari, by PJ Sky. In case you are interested in buying this book afterward, content warnings are blood, violence, foul language, and the threat of sexual assault. I will start with the overall plot, then writing, world building, and finding the characters. Also, this review will be spoiler-free until this time, so if you want to avoid spoilers, I recommend stopping before that timestamp. Now that these notes are out of the way, let's begin. In Australia, one of the last few civilizations is divided from the rest of the country by a wall. Once someone leaves the city, they are never allowed back in, and are instead forced to survive in the harsh climate. This definitely complicates the situation for Starla, the mayor's daughter who was kidnapped and now finds herself on the other side of the wall. In order to get back home, Starla must team up with a girl called Ari, a girl who has been surviving outside the city for almost her entire life. Unfortunately, the people who first kidnapped Starla are looking to get her back. Most of the main plot was rather straightforward and easy to enjoy. Ari and Starla struggle to get along while walking through the desert, all while avoiding dangers both in the form of animals and people. Like most road trips, this ends up being a bonding experience for them, which was fun to watch. The ending does get a bit messy, but I'll save that for the spoiler section. For a debut, the writing was decent enough. The first chapter opened with a party that Starla was reluctant to attend, along with meeting her friend Max and Starla's awful father. After Starla gets kidnapped, the reader gets to meet Ari, who has a distinct voice and is clearly meant to be a foil for Starla. Not to mention that the concept of the book taking place in Australia was great. For those of you who don't know, but can probably tell, I'm American, and also I've unfortunately never been outside the country besides going to Canada and Mexico. So getting to explore a country on the opposite side of the world was extremely exciting. That said, I did have a few issues with the writing, namely the descriptions, or rather the lack of them. Although the reader is introduced to all the fun, new places, they don't really get to see said places, because there's little in terms of sight, touch, taste, or smell. Even in the first chapter, I struggle with visualizing the city. Once again, this leads me to not getting as invested in the characters or the world as I would have liked to have been. A majority of this book takes place in the desert, which makes sense given that it's in Australia. Dingoes are a major threat in the book, and packs of them follow Ari and Starla each night. Along with the dingoes, more wildlife includes bats and caimans. Although they weren't bad, a part of me wanted to see more dangerous but less seen creatures, like snakes and spiders, but that's just wish fulfillment. As for the city, I wanted to stay in it longer. Starla only remained within the walls for the first chapter, so I never got to see what city life was like beyond the party and a handful of memories. That said, it does make for good contrast with the outside world, so it did serve its purpose well enough. As for where Ari lived, it was definitely a place that I won't blame her for not wanting to stay in. Mining salt with few tools seems miserable, along with getting awful pay for an entire day's work. However, the marketplace and Ari's stash of money confused me a bit. First off, where did all those people get those items to build a stall and have enough of them to sell? Also, even though Ari can barely afford to buy enough food with a day's wages, she can purchase enough supplies and clothing for two, based on what she saved. From what I read, her savings wouldn't have been enough for one person, let alone two. Out of the two, Ari was my favorite character. She was tough, stubborn, but cared about Starla, even if she didn't like to show it. Ari also deeply resented people who were in the city, especially her now dead parents. But given Ari's living conditions, it's understandable why she would be angry at those who live a life of privilege. However, despite all her street smarts, Ari tends to make what she considers dumb actions, such as wandering near the water when caimans are around. After that, Ari lampshades it and constantly goes on about how stupid that was. It makes her seem more incompetent. Starla, on the other hand, annoyed me. Although it was understandable that she was worried about getting home, she wasn't the smartest when it came to surviving. For instance, she spends precious food on feeding the skinny dog Ari got to help keep away the dingoes. Many animals can survive for at least a month without food, so throwing it to the dog, so to speak, felt wasteful, as Starla and Ari barely had enough for themselves. The other characters were okay, but mostly one-dimensional. I didn't have an issue with many of them, except for how the tribe Bushmen were portrayed. Them coming to the rescue was good, but having them revealed as crazy at the end felt wrong. I'm not sure if it falls into a native stereotype, but it seems close to one, which makes it very uncomfortable. As for Max, Starla's friend, he was just okay. I kinda wish the reader got to see a few more of these characters, but that's a minor complaint. Alright, now on to the spoilers. I'll give anyone 3 seconds to clear out if you want to keep this book spoiler free. 1, 2, 3. And here we go. Max being behind Starla's kidnapping was rather a letdown. The main reason being is that Max only gets a couple of point of view chapters before the twist is revealed, so it doesn't have much impact because the reader never really gets to know him. Furthermore, the ending was confusing. It was unclear if the dam actually got blown up and how Max died. The description was sparse in that chapter, so more could have helped with the picture becoming clearer. Also, at the end, Starla's arc felt unfinished. Though she learned how horrible her city really was, there was no resolution to when it came to standing up to her father. Overall, I give this book 3.5 stars. The plot and the characters were great, but the world building and writing left a bit to be desired. I still had fun reading the book though, and would recommend it. I hope PJ Sky will keep improving their craft, and wish them the best of luck on their writing journey. Also, just before we go to the credits, I just want to quickly announce that I now have commissions open. I'm doing art and sensitivity reading. There's more info on my Twitter and Tumblr. Links are in the description below. I am also going to try to make adoptables every week, so if you like my work and are interested in supporting me, buying one would be a great help. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next review.